Today, on the Mysteria archive, we're delving into the Chronovisor conspiracy. Did the Vatican steal our history with their secret time machine? Buckle up. Imagine if history wasn't what we think it is. Imagine if a powerful secret organization, not a rogue government or shadowy cabal, but the Vatican itself, had a device capable of peering into the past or even altering it. What if they had used this device to erase inconvenient truths, to rewrite religious history, or even to prevent a future catastrophe that we'll never even know about? Well, according to an Italian priest, a team of top scientists, and a handful of conspiracy theorists, such a device did exist. It was called the Chronovisor, and it might just be the most dangerous piece of technology never revealed to the public. But was it real? Or was it an elaborate hoax designed to mislead? And if it did exist, was it destroyed, hidden away, or even still in use today? Now, this is a fascinating story, and it's one of my favorites. If true, it has so many connotations and implications for us all. Just imagine. So, let's jump in. Origins of the Chronovisor. A priest, a physicist, and a Nazi scientist walk into a church. The story of the Chronovisor starts with Father Pellegrino Ernetti, a Benedictine monk, a respected exorcist, and apparently a man with connections to some of the greatest scientific minds of the 20th century. But Ernetti wasn't just a religious scholar. He was also a physicist and a musician, specializing in archaic music theory and the study of sound waves. His interest in the hidden frequencies of the universe, he claimed, led him to something far greater than just lost music. It led him to a machine that could see into the past. In the 1950s, Ernetti claimed that he'd been part of a secret Vatican project to construct a device that could view and even record history as it happened. He wasn't alone. He said this project involved Enrico Fermi, the Nobel Prize-winning physicist who built the first nuclear reactor, Wernher von Braun, the former Nazi rocket scientist who helped the US get to the moon. Now, Fermi and von Braun were brilliant men, but why would they be involved in a Vatican-funded project to build a time-viewing device? It seems outlandish until you consider that both men were deeply interested in energy, waves, and radiation, all of which played a crucial role in Ernetti's theory. According to Ernetti, the Chronovisor was not a time machine in the sense of allowing physical travel. Instead, it worked like a super TV that could tune into the electromagnetic imprints of past events. Sort of like a cosmic CCTV footage. Every sound, every image, every moment in history, he suggested, leaves behind an energy signature. The Chronovisor supposedly allowed its users to decode those signals and watch history unfold, as if it was still happening in real time. But if this device truly existed, why would the Vatican bury its existence? And more importantly, what did they see that made them so desperate to keep it hidden? All right, let's pause here for a second. We're being told that a monk worked with some of the biggest names in physics and rocketry to build a Vatican-sponsored time television. And this isn't just some random basement scientist, this is Enrico Fermi, a guy literally responsible for splitting the atom. If that's true, it raises massive questions. Why? I mean, was the Vatican trying to check if Jesus really walked on water, or were they betting on 1950s horse races? But let's assume for a second that they really did build this thing. How exactly did it work? How the Chronovisor allegedly worked. So, how does a time television actually work? Ernetti claimed that every event in history leaves behind energy traces, waves of electromagnetic, radiation, and sound vibrations that never fully disappear. These remnants of the past, he suggested, still exist, scattered across the universe like echoes waiting to be retrieved. The Chronovisor, through a mix of quantum physics, advanced acoustics, and obscure theology, could tune into these signals and reconstruct historical events in real time. Think of it like this. Instead of radio waves, the universe is constantly broadcasting the past, and the Chronovisor was an antenna and decoder designed to pick up those transmissions. It supposedly worked using a series of exotic alloy antennas and cathode ray screens, allowing its users to both hear and see events from centuries ago. The device, Ernetti claimed, could be finely adjusted, like tuning a dial on an old television, to focus on specific historical moments with absolute clarity. So what kind of footage could it see? Well, according to Ernetti, anything, and what he claimed to have witnessed will blow your mind. So, the idea here is that time doesn't disappear, it just gets stored as a kind of cosmic DVR recording. Now, if this were true, I'd have some very specific uses for this device. First stop, figuring out what really happened to the missing Malaysian Airlines flight, or, better yet, I'd go back and see if the dinosaurs really got wiped out by that asteroid, or if we'd just been lied to by big meteor. But Let's see what Father Ernetti claimed he actually watched on the Chronovisor. What did Ernetti claim to have seen? According to Ernetti, he and his team used the Chronovisor to witness the destruction of Pompeii in 79 AD, Napoleon addressing his troops, the founding of Rome in 753 BC, the assassination of Julius Caesar, but, most shocking of all, he claimed they saw Jesus Christ's crucifixion. In fact, Ernetti even claimed to have taken a photograph of Jesus using the device. The image surfaced in the 1970s, showing a sorrowful bearded man looking skyward, but then skeptics found something awkward. The image was almost identical to a painting of Jesus found in an Italian church. Oops. But let's not dismiss everything just yet, because things take a very dark turn when we look at what happened to the Chronovisor next. Okay, I'm sorry, but why does everyone who discovers something incredible always forget that records exist? Okay, we may not have had Google back in the 1970s, but if you're going to fake a photo of Jesus, maybe don't use a 19th century painting that's literally sitting in a church somewhere. But let's be real, if the Vatican actually had a working time machine, would they really let this information get out? Or would they cover it up? Alleged Vatican cover-up and the Chronovisor's disappearance. According to Ernetti, once the Vatican realized the sheer power of the Chronovisor, they deemed it too dangerous for humanity. If anyone could look into the past, sacred mysteries could be exposed, historical narratives could be rewritten, and powerful institutions could be undermined. Fearing the implications, church authorities allegedly ordered the device dismantled, locking away its blueprints in the Vatican's secret archives, never to be seen again. Then, in 1988, the Vatican issued a very strange and oddly specific warning. Anyone using an instrument of these characteristics would be excommunicated. Why would they need to ban something that supposedly never existed? What were they afraid of? Some believe the church never truly destroyed the Chronovisor, they simply hid it. And maybe it wasn't just showing history, it was changing it. The Chronovisor allowed them to edit what was seen. Who's to say it wasn't being used to rewrite history itself? So, just to recap, the Vatican builds a secret time TV, watches Jesus, and then suddenly decides, nah, let's just shut it down. Yeah, right, okay. And then, 30 years later, they issue a warning against using a thing they claim doesn't exist. That's like me tweeting, if anyone out there is building a mind control ray, don't do it, or else. Something just doesn't add up. Did the Vatican use the Chronovisor to erase or alter history? Okay, so we know the Chronovisor allegedly existed. We know that the Vatican supposedly destroyed it, and we know that the Vatican issued an oddly specific warning about a device they insist was never real. But here's where things get even weirder. Some theorists believe the Chronovisor wasn't just a tool to observe the past, it was a tool to rewrite it. And if that's true, it raises a terrifying question. How much of what we know about history is actually real? Now, there are four main theories about how the Vatican might have used this device. Theory 1. The Vatican used the Chronovisor to correct religious history. Imagine if the real history of Christianity didn't align with what's written in the Bible. Maybe the resurrection didn't happen exactly as described. Maybe Jesus' true teachings were altered. Maybe other religious figures, ones who didn't fit the Catholic narrative, were erased from history altogether. Some theorists claim that the Vatican used the Chronovisor to verify historical events and then manipulated records to make sure Christianity remained the dominant faith. But even more extreme, what if the Bible itself was rewritten based on what they saw? Because let's be real, if the Vatican had the ability to fact-check history and they found something that threatened their authority, would they really just leave it alone? Alright, hold on. So, now we're saying the Vatican was a time-travelling fact-checkers. Honestly, if this were true, I'd have a few requests. Like maybe go back and double-check the whole Noah's Ark situation, because I've got questions. And what about the dinosaurs? Did they just see T-Rex and decide, yeah, let's just not mention that? But let's keep going, because this next theory gets even crazier. Theory 2. The Chronovisor revealed a future timeline which was then altered. What if the Chronovisor didn't just see the past, but it also glimpsed the future? Some theorists believe that the Vatican saw a future disaster, a war, or even a religious collapse, and they took steps to change history to prevent it. Could they have influenced world leaders to prevent a catastrophe? Could they have manipulated elections to ensure the right people were in power? Or, let's go really deep here, could they have used what they saw to control entire civilizations? If you knew what was going to happen and you had the power to change it, would you? Okay, so now the Vatican is basically Doctor Strange. watching a million possible futures and tweaking reality to get the best outcome. I mean, cool concept, but if they really could see the future, then maybe they could have warned us about the whole 2020 situation. Also, if they saw the future of the Catholic Church, did they see declining memberships and all those scandals and just decide, well, nothing we can do about that? But here's where things get really interesting. Theory 3. The Vatican destroyed the Chronovisor because it was too dangerous. Let's assume for a second that the Chronovisor was real. If so, why would the Vatican destroy it? Well, some believe the device was too dangerous to exist. And think about it. If anyone could look into the past, no secret would be safe. Governments could expose each other's lies. Religions could be debunked overnight. History as we know it could be rewritten. And maybe, just maybe, the Vatican realized that having this much power in human hands was too risky. So they dismantled it, locked away the blueprints, and made sure no one could ever rebuild it. Or did they? Okay. If this was real, I actually get why they'd destroy it. I mean, imagine if Twitter got hold of something like this. We'd have people live streaming ancient Rome, conspiracy nuts trying to cancel Napoleon, and some dude in Florida selling historical NFTs of the crucifixion. But destroying it means giving up the ultimate power. And if history has taught us anything, it's that powerful people don't just give up control. Which brings us to our craziest theory yet. Theory 4. The Mandela effect. Did the Chronovisor change reality? The Mandela effect is a bizarre phenomenon where large groups of people remember history differently. Did the Berenstain Bears used to be spelled Berenstein? Did Monopoly's rich Uncle Pennybags ever have a monocle? Did Sinbad ever star in a genie movie called Shazam? Some theorists believe the Chronovisor, or other time-altering technology, has actually changed our reality. They argue that small edits to the timeline have caused glitches in our memory, which is why people swear they remember things that never happened. And if the Vatican had the power to tweak history, who knows how much of what we remember is actually real? Great. So now the Vatican is playing with reality like it's the Matrix. You know, if they were messing with history, maybe they could fix a few things, like, I don't know, erase pineapple on pizza from existence. But in all seriousness, if this were true, we'd never actually know because our memories would have already been changed. So what does the Vatican actually say about all this? Has anyone in the Vatican admitted to it? The Vatican has never officially confirmed the existence of the Chronovisor. However, in 1988, warning about time-viewing devices remains one of the strangest statements ever made by the Church. And even though Father Pellegrino Ernetti later denied parts of his story, many believe he was pressured into silence. So, here's the question. Was the Chronovisor a real, suppressed Vatican secret, or was it a hoax that got out of hand? Maybe we'll never know. Or maybe they don't want us to know. Alright, let's be real. Was this thing real? Well, almost certainly not. But was it covered up? Maybe. And at the end of the day, the Vatican is one of the most secretive organizations on Earth. And if there were a time machine locked in their archives, well, I guess we'll never get to see the director's cut of history. But hey, if you could use a Chronovisor for one thing, what would you go back and watch? Well, this was a bit of a wild one and I hope you enjoyed it. So, what would you go back in time and witness? And let me know in the comments below. Now, personally, I'd go back to the first time someone even thought about putting pineapple on pizza and find a way to stop them. Now, since you're still watching, for next week's video, I've got 2 words for you: mud floods. So, stay tuned, it's a good one. And this is our channel for curious minds, so let me know what kind of conspiracies, mysteries, and alien encounters you'd like to hear about. Okay, until next time, stay curious.